Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Aesthetic Appeal Podcast. The Aesthetic Appeal Podcast is sponsored by Aesthetic Brokers. With us today, we have a very special guest. In the world of aesthetics, oftentimes we look at things through the lens of a female client. And today's guest is taking that and reverse engineering to their soulmates that are out there. If you would, we've got a very, very interesting podcast episode today with none other than the chief flycatcher himself, the founder and CEO of Flycatcher, Chris Heiler of Austin, Texas, who is focused on men's health and wellness in the aesthetic space. All hail the chief flycatcher. Welcome, Chris.
Appreciate that. I don't know if I'll ever get a better intro than that one. Thank you. Appreciate you inviting me on.
Chris, you take a very luxurious and such an impressive take on the interest that is rapidly growing momentum in men's health, and that is the aesthetic industry and how it influences the overall picture for how men think of themselves and want to take care of themselves. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey, Chris, into aesthetics and what inspired you to focus on men's health with Flycatcher?
Yeah. So a couple of things kind of happened at the same time. I think it was 7 years ago. Uh, I have another company. I actually own a marketing agency. Okay. But I was stepping away from that a little bit and looking for some other opportunities. And I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do something that had to do with men or helping men in some way. But it was very abstract. I didn't really know exactly what that looked like, but that was just kind of in the back of my mind. So I had that kind of lingering there. And then 7 years ago, I met my partner, Aurora, who's now my fiance and mother of 2 children. So we met, and she's an esthetician and a laser tech. So we met. She immediately on the first date pointed out what was wrong with my face. I think it was my enlarged pores or something like that she was staring at. And, being in business and marketing, I'm just always very curious about different industries and different models. So I was always picking her brain about what she did. And it was just so interesting to me. So I went in to visit her a couple of times, got facials and chemical peels. And then I visited 2 or 3 other med spas for some simple laser treatments for some sun damage. And it was just very uncomfortable going into these places. And the experience wasn't great.
Tell me
And
more.
when I say that, I don't mean the treatment itself. The treatment was fine. The treatment was effective, but it was just like how comfortable I was there, how I felt like I was treated. And it was just very clear to me that men are an afterthought at most of these places. That's how it felt to me. And I knew, okay, I'm not the only guy who must feel this way, when they come into these places. So it was just through personal experience, that I saw this gap. And with my marketing background, it was just like light bulb. It's like, okay, someone just needs to do the same thing, but for men, because I knew the business model is really good. There's a ton of money in the space.
Yes.
I did more research, into men specifically, and I know men make up 15 to 18% of visits. I know they spend a lot of money per visit. So there's this giant pie, right? The aesthetics industry, and men are the small slice, but that's a lot. It's still billions of dollars. And that pie, the overall pie is getting bigger and bigger and bigger every year, as you know. So that slice is growing. So we're trying to, we're, I guess, attacking that slice, you could say.
Yes.
So I'm able to help men in some way. I kind of found that the thing that I wanted to do to help men. And So I jumped in. It's kind of how it all started.
So, expanding on that, can you share how, if anybody out there is listening and you go to the Flycatcher website or you see any of their social media, it really kind of like, I don't know how to say this. I feel like it's like a 21st century Gatsby effect.
Yeah.
Uh, if that makes any sense at all. Can you share
Totally.
how you think of incorporating luxury and the sense of success that men maybe want to feel in their life? And how does that incorporate into your customer experience at Flycatcher?
Yeah. I mean, it was no accident. Like what you see online and everything, the brand is not an accident. It's really just a reflection of my own personal bougie taste, I guess Aurora would say. you know,
If
uh,
you're not seeing the video of this and you want to watch later, you could probably hit Chris up and ask him who his tailor is for his
yes,
turtleneck for his winter cream turtleneck
I've
wardrobe.
got some guys. I've got some guys.
He's got a
Uh,
guy.
so you know, the whole brand and everything just kind of comes, it's just authentic to who I am and how I try to live. And I love the Art Deco aesthetic, which is from Gatsby, right?
Sure.
Um, I love the old Hollywood aesthetic. Like that's the main thing I wanted to start with. Old Hollywood. It was a time when men really cared about taking care of themselves and looking their best,
Yeah.
right? And that kind of inspired this whole thing. Like I wanted that to be the aesthetic for Flycatcher. So everything comes out of that. So the interiors, are mostly Art Deco, which I think appeals to men. A lot of darker colors, things like that. Uh, Colors that are very different compared to any other med spa, but colors that really, I think men find comfortable. But then everything from like each treatment room has a different theme. So we have the James Bond room, we have the Frank Sinatra room, we have the Cary Grant room, right? All the artwork throughout, is that old Hollywood kind of vibe. The music we play a lot of 40s, 50s, Sinatra stuff, the standards.
Yes.
We've got a big display TV out in the lobby where if you walk into most med spas, they're putting a bunch of promotional stuff up there, right? From all of these different brands. Well, we don't do that. We show classic movies. We might have James Bond Goldfinger playing, right?
I love the
Because
Bond series.
you know,
You're singing in my heart, man. That's great.
yeah, if a guy comes in and he's sitting there for a few minutes, he doesn't want to be looking at an advertisement for Botox or whatever it is. I was trying to sell him more. So we put up something cool that fits with the vibe.
I love it.
Uh, so everything we do, I just try to do it different. If you ever remember that Seinfeld episode with uh, George, when he decides, oh, I'm just going to do the opposite of everything I've ever done in the past. And that's kind of the approach I take. I see how people are doing. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do this differently.
So I love it. It really does like resonate for me as a male who is associated deeply within the aesthetic industry. Um, and what's really funny as you say this is my favorite restaurant, and we've got to have you out to San Diego and La Jolla. My favorite restaurant downtown is Anime, and it's Asian fusion with an Art Deco old Hollywood vibe. And then
Cool.
probably a favorite cocktail restaurant bar is a few blocks away from the offices in La Jolla Village, and it has an original, authentic Art Deco theme at the Whaling Bar, and they preserved a ton in the renovations of the Art Deco, and maybe that whatever research you've done in marketing, it definitely it seems to resonate.
Yeah. Well, I think just the whole Art Deco vibe to me, it's very masculine.
Tell me
So
something,
it's kind of a no brainer to me to go with that.
Chris. Tell me something about you as a founder. what are the challenges you faced in establishing and growing Flycatcher medical aesthetics, um, being a male entering into the industry? That's not
Yeah.
a surgeon, right? It's not a surgical place. So, what are some of the challenges you face as a founder that you can think of, and how have you worked on overcoming those challenges?
Yeah, it is interesting. And you identified part of it in that I am, a non-physician. So when it comes to getting a small business loan or getting financing for equipment and things like this, companies were not interested in working with us because of that, because I'm not a physician, um, and because I don't have a physician who's part owner. So that was difficult, but I got past it. Uh, Now that we're open, I think the biggest challenge we have, which is also our biggest opportunity, is that this is a whole new concept, especially for Austin, right? This idea of a med spa that's designed for men, people just aren't doing it. So it's an entirely new concept, and I understand that's going to take time to catch on, uh, and for men to gravitate towards that. And the other interesting thing too is, I this is just based on what I've seen, but I feel like a lot of med spas are started by, let's say it's a nurse practitioner leaving one practice and starting their own, or it's a surgeon leaving a practice and then starting his or her own practice. And then they bring clients with them, right? So they've got a little bit of a base when they
Yes,
launch.
right.
Well, with us, it's Aurora and I. Well, Aurora, she didn't work with a bunch of male clients. So it's not like she's bringing her book of business with her. So it's a new concept. We have no customer base. So that I'd like that was
Start
the challenge,
a true
but that's
start.
fine. Yeah, yeah, but that's fine. Like, and that's also part of the opportunity, right? Is that it is a new concept, but when it really takes off, there's all the opportunity in the world there.
What's the buzz
We just
around
have to be patient.
Austin? What's the buzz around Austin, Texas, um, with regards to you opening your doors, and how's that been received at the early onsets?
I think it's been received really well by everybody uh, who sees what we're doing, male or female. Females are probably even more excited than the men we talk to. Uh, I don't think I've talked to anybody or brought up the idea with anybody who said, "Oh, that'll never work. What a dumb idea." It's always like, "Wow, now is the perfect time. It's the perfect place being in Austin. What a great idea." So it's like people have been very supportive, like really good energy around it. Uh, and we've only been open for 4 months. So that's what people should know. It's only been 4 months.
So talk to me about that. How did you determine your specific demographic, and what were you thinking were going to be the needs of that target audience for the men coming to Flycatcher with this concept?
Yeah. Some of it honestly was just like a hunch, kind of my gut, trusting my gut. My thought was if I was seeking out these treatments myself and I was looking to improve different things and I was willing to spend money at these med spas, then there are other men out there similar to me who are looking for the same thing and who also want a space where they're more comfortable. Like that was my bet.
Mhm.
And so I thought our demographic, it's not really like the 20 somethings. It's going to be 40-year-old, 50-year-old, even maybe older than that. That's going to be our demographic. Professionals,
Mm.
right? Business owners,
And these are people
people like that.
who have been very successful, I'm assuming, in their different endeavors, and they've got the resources that they want to take care of themselves and elongate how they look, how they feel, I'm assuming.
Exactly. So I can tell you, we've only been open 4 months, so it's not like we have 1,000 clients or 100 clients. But the clients we do have, I bet 90% of them are all business owners.
Interesting. So they're entrepreneurs.
maybe more. They're all entrepreneurs. Yeah, and that's part of the reason too is exactly where we're located, like west of Austin. That's just where a lot of the money and a lot of like the entrepreneurs and people are.
Yes.
But it's it's like 40 to 55-year-old men, entrepreneurs, business owners. And that's a like what's really exciting is that's kind of what I envisioned before we opened this. And then the people coming in are exactly what I had envisioned. So I'm really encouraged by that.
What specific products and treatments do you see your clients asking for? What gets the most interest? And when you're educating them on the different benefits of certain types of services, um, what do they seem most interested in?
So I think it's a little different than with women in that to this point, there isn't like one thing that men are most interested in. Most of the time, they schedule a consultation, they come in to meet with Aurora. They're not necessarily looking for a hydrofacial or something specific. Like women, they're searching for a specific brand. Men are more coming in saying, hey, I want to do something. I don't know what I want to do. I'm 50 years old. I want to take care of myself better. What do I need? And then Aurora can talk to them about what is it, the sun damage? Is it acne scarring? Is it wrinkles? Is it, is there a scar or something they want to get rid of? So it's a lot of different things it's
Interesting.
not always like one specific thing, but some will come in specifically for like laser hair removal. Like that's a big one. And then once they talk with Aurora, it's like they'll look at doing all sorts of other stuff.
It's interesting you
That's
talk
been a
about
really
that
cool thing. Yeah, go ahead.
right there, what you said. If that strikes me very interesting because when you look in the medical space as a whole, uh, percentage wise, men are much more likely to want to do a procedure and do a procedure instantaneously or quickly, whereas a female patient may be more interested in some sort of a medication. And so there's a little bit of physicality, it seems like, in men traditionally and historically when it comes to percentage wise wanting to do a procedure that is more, for lack of a better word, tactile. Uh, and I've seen that and listened to surgeons say that men are more apt to say like, let's do this, cosmetic or plastics surgical procedure like today. Um,
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
and so I find it interesting how you just stated very, very uniquely that it sounds like and it feels like men come in and say, I don't want this specific brand. I don't want this specific treatment. Tell me tell me what we can do. What do I need? Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it today.
That's exactly right. Men don't have the same awareness that women have when it comes to aesthetics and all these different brands and all this stuff and all the fads and trends that are out there. So no one calls up saying, hey, do you have hydrofacial? How much is it? Or
Right.
do you have whatever the big thing is at the moment? Cool sculpting. No one ever calls asking for a brand. They just come in asking, hey, what do I need to do?
Right.
And then we talk about solutions, right? Not brands, because they're not buying a brand.
Yes.
Um, and what's been really cool, and I didn't necessarily expect this, but so when these guys come in, like they're very open to trying all sorts of different things because they don't even know these treatments exist. So a guy might come in for laser hair removal. Let's say it's his back, and then he might have a birthmark back here. And Aurora will be like, I can take care of that spot. And they're like, oh, really? Yeah, all we have to do is such and such. So then he'll do it. And they'll be like, hey, what about the spot over here? Can you do something about that? Yeah, we can take care of that. Say, oh, okay, yeah, let's do that next.
Yeah.
What about these wrinkles? And it just go and they end up trying a bunch of different things, which I wasn't really expecting. But they really do. Like everybody that comes in, they end up trying all sorts of different stuff, which is super cool.
Chris, looking ahead, what are your goals for Flycatcher over the next few years, and how do you plan that evolution, and what do you see as being the next for Flycatcher with regards to trends in the market?
Well, I mean, short term, by the end of 2025, I want to be breaking even or making a little bit of a profit. That's the thing I'm most
Great
concerned
goal.
about. Not concerned. Uh,
Great goal.
that's the first. Yeah, I mean, we need to get there and kind of and show proof of concept, right? So that's step one. And then I think once we do that, I think we have I think we have the opportunity to have multiple locations on the west side of Austin. So that's kind of the, I don't know, 5-year goal, starting multiple locations. And then after that, longer term, I think if we really prove the concept and show people how cool the brand is, I think we could take it further, whether that's a franchise model or it's just, you know, growing it, to other markets. That's the plan. But I'm so focused on what can we do right now just to get more people in the door
Sure.
and get to profitability. And like you asked about trends, honestly, I don't worry that much about the trends and fads and all that stuff because this industry is growing so fast. There's always something new. There's always a new device. There's always something the Kardashians are trying, that then everybody else wants to try it. It's like I see what's going on, but I don't rush into trying to do that stuff. It's like we've got the equipment we need, we've got the tools we need. Now we just need to do an awesome job, right, at using those and helping these guys,
Yes.
and we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Uh,
I love
so I'm
it.
not a big trend. I'm not a big trends guy, honestly.
For everybody out there who's listening that are in the greater Austin area, and beyond, who are fascinated like I am about the Flycatcher experience, could you give us maybe some coordinates on where you guys are at on the west side of Austin?
Yeah. So probably we're about 15 minutes, I would say, west of Austin. We're out in the hill country. It's the Bee Cave Lakeway area.
Got it.
Uh, it's a beautiful area, the Texas Hill Country. It's a beautiful area, but we're not far from downtown. 15, 20 minutes.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to having Chris Heiler back on the show for an update as they progress. We wanted to get out in front of the story because I do think it's so cutting edge of innovation for men in the health and wellness space. All hail the chief Flycatcher. Chris, thanks for being on Aesthetic Appeal podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I look forward to catching up again. It'll be fun when I'm making a profit.
All right, everyone. That's this episode for this Aesthetic Appeal podcast series, and we'll get you updates as we go. I know there's going to be a lot of following of the chief Flycatcher in the Austin market. Thanks.